All right. All right. All right. All right. Here it is. I know I'm going to get 8 billion questions about this later in stream. I know my comment sections are going to be filled up with this one because it's some pretty big NFL news. So, here's the video. Here are my thoughts as it pertains to the Seattle Seahawks on this recent NFL news. It broke like a couple hours ago. The New Orleans Saints and Sean Payton are parting ways. Specifically, it seems like Sean Payton has chosen to step away. This was not a firing, this was not a mutual parting of the ways. The Saints wanted Payton back, and Payton has had enough. So, Sean Payton will be walking away from the Saints for at least this season. Now, obviously, this is big NFL news. But is it big Seattle Seahawks news? Some of you guys want it to be, and I don't blame you. And I'll say this, I think Sean Payton's a great coach. I think Sean Payton would be great for this Seattle Seahawks franchise. And I know where your mind may have gone when this news broke because I can admit it. My mind kind of went to the same place as well. However, it it's just not really it's not a productive use of our time to have our minds go that way for more than a few seconds because it doesn't change anything as much as I would love it to. However, the long-term effects could be significant. So I do want to talk about a few things about this Sean Payton news as it relates to the Seahawks because there is a little bit you can talk about. But let me just come out right now and say it. No, we're not going to hire Sean Payton this offseason and get rid of Pete Carroll. This team is already pretty well committed to Pete Carroll for 2022. I don't see anything happening short of Carroll deciding, you know what, I want to spend time with my grandkids. That would change that. So, no, Sean Payton is not going to be coaching the Seahawks in 2022. Sorry. And I would love him to. I think he's much better than Carroll. I think he's exactly what we would need in many ways. I think that he's a guy who could absolutely help take Wilson to the next level. I think he's a guy who could take this team potentially to the next level. And look, what he did in New Orleans in 2021, amazing. Amazing that team had a winning record. You know, Pete Carroll wants to blame this season that we just had on injuries. Yeah, go look at what Sean Payton had to deal with in New Orleans, gutting out that winning record, and tell me that's a valid excuse. I'll spoil it for you. It's not. So props to Sean. However, at the end of the day, one thing that needs to be remembered here is just because Sean Payton is stepping away, it does not mean he can go wherever he wants to go. This is not a situation where he's trying to find a way to get out of New Orleans without a team having to trade for him. No, you still have to trade for Sean Payton. There's a lot of buzz right now that the Dallas Cowboys might trade for Sean Payton, but realistically, I think that this is a move that Payton is making not because he doesn't want to coach the Saints anymore, but because he doesn't want to coach right now, period. Maybe you could talk him into the right situation. Maybe if you gave him a ton of power and a ton of money, you could convince him otherwise. But I see this as a move where Sean Payton gets out of the NFL for a year at least. Maybe he does announcing, maybe he goes to work for ESPN. That's what I think is going to happen here. And at the end of the day, you are still in the same place you were before Sean Payton stepped away, where you have to trade for him. And that's not going to come cheap. A good head coach, which Sean Payton most certainly is not cheap. Sean Payton just gutted out a winning record, giving starts at quarterback to guys like Ian Book, Trevor Siemian, and Taysom Hill. Even the original quarterback he had wasn't that good, Jameis Winston, but Ian Book, Trevor Siemian, these guys should not be in the NFL. These guys have no place in the NFL. Or, I mean, if they do have a place in the NFL, it should be on a practice squad. So the fact that he still managed to have a winning record, all three of those quarterbacks that he had to use to replace Jameis Winston are clearly worse at quarterback than even Geno Smith. And I know you guys hate Geno Smith, and some of you guys even blame this season going bad on him. So, just go look at New Orleans. That's how you get it done. That's how you find a way to win with backup, third string, fourth string quarterbacks. So props to Payton for that. I have a newfound respect for Sean Payton's coaching ability after what he did in 2021. But the bottom line is this: you still need to trade for Sean Payton. So don't think anybody can just sign him, and the Seahawks should go jump in some bidding war here. The bidding war will still be with the Saints. And then after you win that bidding war with the Saints, you then need to convince Sean Payton to actually coach for you. Because again, my sense here is that he's just trying to take a year off. Maybe burnout is a thing. Maybe he I just don't think he wants to coach in 2021. So I'm going to just say it right now. Get it out of your head. Sean Payton will not be the Seahawks head coach in 2022. Forget it. Now, one thing that does affect the Seahawks here, and a couple things I'm going to talk about that justify the existence of this video. Because if that's really all I had to say, I don't think I would really have to make a whole video about it, right? It would just be me getting on here and saying this doesn't affect the Seahawks. However, the Seahawks do play the Saints in New Orleans this year, right? We have a game in New Orleans this year, and the Saints with no Sean Payton, and for all we know, they may lose other coaches as well. What happens to Dennis Allen now? Does he get promoted, or does he go somewhere else? What happens to some of these players? Like, Michael Thomas is already kind of on the outs there. Is he going to really leave now that he knows he's not going to have a coach to scheme him open on 800 slant passes every game? Possibly. So that game just became a lot less intimidating for the Seahawks. So that's good. Now, that's minor in the grand scheme of things, right? Now you're probably going into that Saints game next year or this year thinking we should win that game. And that's cool. But what I'm really thinking about is next year, next season, 2023. Sean Payton having taken a year off, he might want to coach again. We know he loves this game. And at that point, maybe the Saints have moved on. And I think the Saints would still own his rights because he's still under contract for another year. But in 2023... now things become a little more interesting in regards to the Seahawks actually being involved. I think the Dallas Cowboys are kind of in a holding pattern to try to get Sean Payton. I think that's why they're holding on to McCarthy. They're saying, okay, McCarthy, you're going to get one more year, but if you don't really do it, if you don't get us to the Super Bowl or get us really close to the Super Bowl, we're going to just pull out the Sean Payton card, and you're going to be out of here. You'll have had 3 years on your 5-year deal, so there will be some settlement between the two parties, but it won't be terrible. And then they can go do whatever they need to do to go get Sean Payton. So at that point, let's say 2022 goes bad for the Seahawks, and maybe you push Carroll out at that point because I don't think he can survive another bad season. Then maybe you're talking. Maybe then you get involved in the bidding war for Sean Payton, and you're going to have probably a better opportunity for Payton than the Cowboys can offer, because the Cowboys, it's the Jerry Jones circus over there, right? At least here you don't have a meddling owner. At least it doesn't look like you have a meddling owner. So, hey, maybe Sean Payton can get involved with the Seahawks in a more direct sense in 2023. But right now, not happening. Get it out of your head. Have fun with it. Kick it around in your brain and then kick it out. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks, but I wanted to make a quick video about the Sean Payton stuff because I know you guys are going a little nuts right now about this Sean Payton thing, but I don't think anything's changed, and I don't think this franchise has any interest in moving off of Carroll at the moment. So there you go. Let me know what you think down below. Hey, that game in the Superdome next year just got a little easier, so there's that.